Well, good morning, everyone. Hey, welcome to The Secret, and thanks for being here today. We have a panel here, and I'm just going to quickly introduce them. Woo! Yes. Reverend Kim. Reverend Patrick. Be myself as well. And then we have Scott, who's going to be on video. Reverend Sean will be on video. And also Ryan Johnson. So they pre-recorded their part, so we'll bring them in periodically. So you're the ones that are going to be asking questions. Oh, there I am. You guys will be asking the questions. But we're going to start off this morning, and we're just going to kind of do some general talking about The Secret. Everybody has seen it? Okay? All right. And so we're going to start off, and we also have Reverend Patrick, who's going to tie it back into the scriptures as well. So it'll be a wonderful, wonderful day. And I'm going to start off with Reverend Kim. Tell us, just first of all, what The Secret meant to you and how it works in your daily lives.
All righty, The Secret. The secret to me is the inner fire, is an inner. It's a redefining of the stories, the narratives I might have, and bring into a perspective of redefining, of making, of looking at decisions as how I live my life the way that I'm guided to live. So it's an inner, The Secret is really an inner peace. Peace as in P-E-A-C-E, and a part of. So that's where what The Secret means. And in daily living, it's the awareness. It's a growing awareness. The seed of awareness, the seed of realization, and hearing and listening to that and moving forward with that.
And Reverend Patrick, how does it how do you put yourself in tune every day with the universe?
Looking at The Secret, we were just chatting about The Secret and the movie, and about how it tended to be about money and cars and houses. I have everything I need in that regard. But I think finding who I am, and you said some of this in what you said, finding who I am and what my purpose is, I think is the secret. As I've preached over the years, I've talked about people finding their spiritual gifts, finding what you have to give to other people, finding out how you live your life. Most of the time people come back and say, I don't know what my spiritual gift is. 10 times out of 9. I don't know what my spiritual gift is. You know what? You don't have to define it, you just have to live it. And I think that's the whole point, is that sometimes we're just searching. We're reading the Bible, or we're listening to preachers, or we're going to places, we're just watching The Secret. We're just, this and that and the other. And what we're doing is that we're postponing the action we should be taking. Most of us know how to take care of other people and ourselves, and we just need to get busy doing it. I think that's the secret.
And I think also that our thoughts are always constantly running, and it's how that inner self then is attracting all of our thoughts out into the universe. And so having those thoughts and coming to sometimes, what we're putting out there, or we might be saying in our words, but is it really correlating with what our thoughts are and how we really truly feel? So those three combinations are huge to working within the laws of attraction, if you will. But it is not easy. It takes a long time because it's really kind of a harmony, if you will. There's a strong faith in it. So kind of just real quickly, You have a few scriptures.
Yeah, but I want to say two things.
Go
about
ahead.
that. The biggest keys and the biggest problems with the secret is personal responsibility
Right.
and personal freedom. Both of those, when we're tied back to our parents or things that have happened in our past, we don't find our freedom. When we want everything else to be everybody else's fault, we don't take personal responsibility.
Right.
So those two things are the secret of the secret, is my own personal responsibility and my own personal freedom. And when I can move in my freedom and I can take my responsibility, then I have the secret to life. And whether I have a Porsche or whether I have a big house or whether I have $1 million is irrelevant to any of that. Those two things are the key to it.
I think one of the key things, it's really, for me, it's about joy. It's about happiness. That's what we're really trying to seek. And so it's finding that in ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, Kim, just real quick, and then we'll come back to you about some scriptures that kind of tie that in. You were getting ready to say something.
Yeah. It's a personal journey. We live our lives exterior. We were looking and searching and wanting and being, and being nourished by that. And when we begin to become aware of, hey, it's how I take this in. It's this inner piece, like, okay, what am I gonna do? How do my choices affect my daily life? And so it's that personal piece. So the personal responsibility, the piece that you had mentioned, Patrick, are I think that's the strength of that. And within that, the ability to be able to see what we're attracting, see what we're abundant in, and say, hey, is this how I want it to be? So, yeah.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit. Some of that, just
Years ago,
correlate it with the
years ago when I
scriptures.
saw The Secret, my first question was, is this biblical? Of course, that would be my question. Is there anything about the Bible that is based upon this, or vice versa? And so I had to search it out myself to say, yeah, this is really Bible principles that have been available, although not always available to the people. Because you know what? If we keep everybody down and in poverty, we can have control. And that goes with clergy in churches too, and churches as a whole in a power struggle. So we're going to put these up on the screen, but I also have them for you when you go out today, where it talks about these very principles that we see in there. So Colossians, set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. So that's higher stuff. That's visualizing. That's set your mind up there. Whatever is true and noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable. He talks about these positive thoughts, these moving forwards. He said, think on these things. So there's two things about thinking. There's a whole bunch now on speaking that we see next. And it really opens up a whole lot of stuff about saying it out loud and believing what you say. The tongue has the power of life and death. There's the creation. It can create death or it can create life. So our speech is very important in the secret, in manifesting, in saying it. The mouth of the righteous person utters wisdom, and their tongue speaks what is just. All right? Let's go to the next one, Matthew chapter 7 and 7 and 8. Yeah.
So I do have a quick question about that. So what you're really kind of saying, everything is coming to us in the universe.
Everything is available.
Everything is available. Okay, that's where I wanted to make sure.
Everything is
because
available.
It's really about the showing up
Right.
and being open to the possibilities.
Sure.
And that's kind of where those scriptures.
That's where the thinking and the speaking comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's got a little action going with it. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek, look for it. Knock, the door will be open. For everyone who asks, receives. See, there's the secret. And the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be opened. So the essence of this is coming back to what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm knocking, what I'm seeking, what I'm looking. So it's a big mindset. It's a big mindset of what am I going to create today? I like the lady who stubbed her foot when she first got out of bed. How many of us have done that? This is going to be a terrible day. It can't get any worse than this. And then another thing happens. And then we're going down the rabbit hole. One time, and we talked about that, CJ. One more thing. And so we find ourselves in that pattern of going down. Mark chapter 11:24, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it. That's a principle of the secret. That is a principle right here in our Bible. Believe that you've received it and it will be yours. Wow, amazing. And the next one, if you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. Prayer is conversation. Prayer is speaking up. Prayer is using your language. Next one, Mark 11. If you say to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and you do not doubt in your heart, but believe what you say will happen, it will be done. That's your Bible. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. That's the secret. It's been here all along. But we kind of throw it away, saying, you know what? It's just all pie in the sky. I don't really think it can happen. Mark chapter 10. We have to speak out what we want to happen. It's, again, the secret. Here Jesus is talking to a blind man, and he says, what do you want me to do for you? If Jesus didn't know what he wanted him to do for him, Jesus wasn't Jesus. He said, what do you want me to do? The guy could have said, well, you already know, just do it. But he said to him, I want to see. Speaking it out. Speaking it out. And Jesus said, go ahead. Your faith has already made you whole, and you received your sight. So sometimes we have to speak it out. We have to say it. It is a verbalization as well as a seeing it in our hearts. So the next one is the kingdom of God is in you. So if the kingdom of God is there, it is here. People say, well, it's over there. You can't have it because it's there. Or if you do these things, if you give $1,000, or if you go do this or that, he says, no. The kingdom of God, the realm of God, God's very presence is within you. Next one, John 10:10. I've come that they may have life and have it to the full, Jesus said. Okay, that's having everything in my life that I want. I've got peace, my health, my whatever I need. Tomorrow it's going to happen because I'm having life to the fullest. Now, is life to the fullest as we always define it? I'm afraid not. Co-creators. God created humankind in the image of God, and so God created them. And so if God is a creator, and we are built in the image of God, we are creating every day with God.
Amen.
All right. Next one is sowing and reaping. What you reap, you're going to sow. That's what we also call karma.
Karma.
Right? So what are you putting out there? What have you put out there in the past that you're going to reap today? What did you do 10 years ago you're going to reap today? What did you do yesterday that you might reap today? Hopefully it's a good thing. That's the putting it out, getting it back. Rest from chaos. They talk about that peacefulness of being in that calmness. Be still and know that I am God. In gratitude, they talked about this big time in The Secret, about always being thankful. 1 Thessalonians says, give thanks in all circumstances. And then Colossians says, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body, you are called to peace and be thankful. So the Bible has all of the principles, all of the principles of The Secret. I don't know that it directs us to stand in our parking lot or our driveway and say, poof, let's have a Mercedes. I think Mercedes may come our way, but when we step back a little, we see the bigger principles and the bigger picture of our lives and the direction we're going forward. If I say I'm going to get all the red lights, I do. If I say I will peacefully stop at each red light I come to, I may not get as many.
You do attract some incredible people as far as driving around you, that's for sure.
Because they're all idiots, and I tell them that all the time, so they just keep getting in front of me.
So, it really is. Your feelings are what tell you very quickly. So right now you should have a lot of different feelings. So you've got to have some questions. Anybody got some questions about what Patrick was just talking about? All right.
So what they were saying, speaking at, like the one lady in the movie said she had cancer and she never went to chemo, and she never went through radiation, any of that, but yet she was healed. So I truly believe that. Just like they say you are what you eat. Same kind of thing. Same principle, that you can heal yourself because you have different things that happen to you. You believe and you put yourself out there. Same kind of principle. Yes.
I have a hard time with it because I have had quadruple bypass surgery. I had rectal cancer that would not have gone away. I have HIV. I had a lump that was here that took surgery to pull all of this back and take it out of there, and it wasn't cancer, but it just kept growing. This is a hard one because the issue is if you have cancer, and the lady on The Secret had the cancer, and she takes this route, and it works for her, then I have to be guilty when it doesn't work for me. And the churches teach us this. The church teaches us that if it doesn't work for me, I don't have enough faith, I didn't do something right, God doesn't love me, I'm not as good as you, I should try harder. I don't like any of those. So Scott's going to talk about the health part.
Yes.
Because he's just dealt with cancer and he's overcome it. So we're going to bring him up in just a little bit and talk about that. What I think the secret about the health is, you better know yourself well enough to know. And you better have enough information from doctors or other places that you know how to move forward. The faith that I had in doctors and the health that I found myself in following the surgeries is a lot of times people don't recover from that because they don't have a good mindset or they're not speaking out the healing part of their body and moving forward. And so I think there's a number of ways we can deal with health, and some of it's medicine, some of it's surgeries, some of it's prayer, some of it's faith, some of it's positive thinking. I want it all.
Yeah,
I want it all.
Yeah, sometimes it takes all. I also look at it as it's what brings comfort. The natural things of life are going to happen. They showed the weeds coming up and then the weeds dying. The flowers come, seasons come. We have seasons of things that happen to us. It's also very important to understand that's how we come to understand the importance of joy, as sometimes we have to go through the dark times. But I believe what we're trying to seek is comfort. We're trying to give ourselves that hope. That is just a huge portion of it. So it is that inner fight that sometimes is happening between the two of us. And so, our two, the good and the bad happening. We always have that inner tangled fight happening. And so when we're going through difficult times, one of the things that can bring us comfort and peace is really trying to seek out what we want, and that's healing. We do want that healing. And so when we can put that to the forefront, It helps us. I mean, when we look at Proverbs, it talks about the best medicine is laughter and joy. So having said that, yeah, go ahead. And then we'll go to Scott.
Okay, yeah, it'll lead right into Scott. It's personal.
Yeah.
It is personal. And we saw in The Secret, and you had just mentioned, we need to act. We need to act, we need to believe, and we will receive. So, seeing Scott, we heard his
If you'll
interview
roll
here.
Scott for us, Adam. So Scott, about 9 months ago you were diagnosed, and I'd like you to just share a little bit of the story. When I had the opportunity to first see you after the diagnosis, you just had this spirit about you. You had this wonderful energy. And now later on, as we talked over the 9 months, it was the secret. It was the secret.
It was.
So tell us a little bit about where that came from, and how you kind of leaned into it at this time when it can be a very dark time for you.
I think because of my belief system, the universe and God can be interchanged. So with that said, after seeing The Secret, I realized that God, the universe, the entity or entities or however you look
It's
at
okay,
it.
because they come together.
Right,
and
they come
that-
together, and so they can be interchanged. And so then after seeing The Secret, I realized that it's kind of the third part of the equation, that the universe, God wants, and The Secret all want the best for us. And the law of attraction, or being in the law of attraction, which is kind of intention, right? That you have to have an intention. My diagnosis was what it was, and things happened, but I just was going to be better. I could see myself on the other side of the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, so it's almost like you could visualize that. You felt it emotionally, and you understood.
And I knew it too, because and it was knowing it, not just, I had no fear, I had no fear, and I had no dread.
Mhm.
I mean, I've said that many times to you, that
Right.
I was going to be all right.
Right, and so to have that, it's almost having that emotion, you let go and send it up into the universe. That's trust.
And again, it came down to The Secret. It was intention. I knew that I had to let go and to just believe that I would be all right.
It's that love of faith. So the faith of the universe and how you just sent out this wonderful energy and that you were going to beat this diagnosis was extremely helpful. And I'm sure you had times, but I bet you it was just very quick excerpts. I bet you it was just the moment, because naturally our human body would all of a sudden, but I have a feeling you just all of a sudden, no, I'm changing this. I'm changing my thought process.
Well, I didn't have negative thoughts as much as it was more of the recognition that I had cancer. I mean, I had cancer, and it's like, and that fleeting moment was, okay, but I'm gonna see myself on the other side of this. And I'm gonna come out better.
Mm-hmm. And so now you're giving this gift, and I appreciate you sharing the gift of sharing The Secret, because so many people can really, it can be life-changing. When you learn The Secret, when you watched it for the first time, at that point you started it's practicing.
It's practice, absolutely.
It's that practice, and then watching
And
it
as
just
you said,
unfold in front of you.
And give it up.
Yeah.
Give it up. The faith would
Mm.
that you'll come through. And it's not just in cancer, it's in all things.
Right.
As the movie tells you, it's, if you think about the mail and the bills in the mailbox, that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you're gonna live and think.
Yeah.
So it's not just positive, it should be positive, that's what you practice.
Right. Exactly. Mailbox is a great example because when people are walking to the mailbox, they're thinking, oh, I got bills. So what are you going to get? You're going to get bills.
Well, and that's what you think about, that's what you bring to yourself.
Right.
Because we all have bills.
Right. But the thing is that it changes course. The bills will come, but what is nice about it is there's more abundance. There's more opportunities as you walk towards that mailbox.
Absolutely.
When you're just not just thinking about bills, but you're thinking of opportunities and abundance. And that's what the secret's all about.
Well, going back to the cancer, it changed me for the better.
Right. And in what ways?
I can't explain. I mean, it would take that film and all the rest of another 10. I mean, because it changed me. It changed my being, and I'm very grateful.
Yes.
Because it made me who I am.
So the appreciation, and there's a new freedom. If I said
I told you that little story of how appreciative I was. I asked the nurse, had anyone ever said it was the coolest experience ever, and
right.
she thought I was crazy.
And it is.
And it was.
It was that transition time that happens in The Secret, and that's what you were going through at that moment. I remember that.
It was.
Yeah. So I appreciate you talking about The Secret and the passion, and thanks for sharing for everybody on Community Chat today.
Thank you.
Any questions now?
You know, mine is not a question so much as understanding what he's saying, that, and what Kim said, it's personal. I'm a former RN. I have seen people that have survived things that doctors and nurses said they wouldn't. I've seen other people, though, that were as good as they could be people, but they still succumbed. I think it's personal. Those people that did die often would say to us, it's okay, I'm all right. You know, it's personal. They had a healing. They felt, I had people come up to me, for instance, and they'll say, you know what, if you had enough faith, you could walk again. Or you don't have enough faith, you're not asking God for the right. And I said, yes, I have. I've asked God, and I've received the benefit of Him personally telling me, you're okay. Don't think about your missing a limb or what you can't do. Think of what you can do. And I didn't know about The Secret. I didn't know this movie. All this has come to me really in the last, I would say, 6 months of learning that it's personal. Learning through a real tragedy that I have the power. That is within me because God made me, and He made me perfect, and He made me to ask for what I need. And He's asked us to do that. I've given you everything on the earth, but you have some of it you do have to ask for, and some of it is not a healing where you're going to survive that disaster. Right. It's human that people have accidents and they die, and there's no fault, you know. And when people come to me, I let them pray. They say, can I pray over you?
Sure.
And I'm like, go ahead, whatever. But you know what? It is what it is. You know, it is what it is. And I can make myself happy. I can be whole. I can be as good as God can make me with what. And I tell children who come up and say to me, what happened to your leg? Well, you know, the worst thing you can't say, an amputation or a disease. So I say, God made us all different, didn't He? Every one of us have different things. Well, I'm different because I don't have this one leg. And the kids are satisfied with that answer. It's so easy for them to say, yeah, that's all right. You can be who you are and not have to feel like that God punished you
Right.
or that you didn't do the right things. You know, for cancer, I worked on a cancer ward, and I tell you, I should have known the secret, but I saw it. I saw it. I just didn't know the name for it. I knew that there were some people that had something within them that they could feel that they had all the comfort, all the joy, all the happiness. And they succumbed, but they were peaceful. And that's what I always have longed for in my life, is what Kim said, this inner peace. Thank you.
I think you're right, Martha, because when we can find peace wherever we are, when we can find wholeness wherever we are, that's the secret. That's the secret. It's about that inner thing. It's that personal thing. So smart.
Not sure what the status is. But Martha, first of all, thank you for your service. I would have loved to have been one of your patients. You bring joy and you have this wonderful attitude, and I know you've touched many, many people, so thank you for your service. Kim, in that transition piece, explain to us a little bit how we transition. And usually, I guess, a lot of times it's when we've kind of gone through some dark circumstances, and that we kind of, because it's more than just positive thinking. It's just not positive thinking, because it's got to be here too. It's got to be in the heart, and so within our heart. But there's that appreciation piece as well too. So talk to us a little bit about where we find those combinations, because that's really what starts to move us to help us on a daily basis.
Our heart is a brain. Our heart has neurological cells. And it's been shown that when something is coming towards us, our heart reacts first and then shoots the message up to our brain. Transitioning, oh, how scary that is. Trying to make a change and moving into that peaceful place. We're all the same, my dears. Our DNA, aren't we like 99.8% the same DNA, and there's a percentage of what it makes us different? The secret, background with the Bible. I think the one piece about this secret part was at the very beginning of the meeting when they said, oh, it's secret and we're trying to take this away, and they were trying to keep it from us, and we're born with it.
Yes.
We're born with it. And it's us taking that, getting that thought process. And in that thought process is the affirmations that we do here, are affirming in our own lives. It's the taking a responsibility or taking an awareness for our bodies, for ourselves. How am I breathing today? Oh my gosh, when I met with Elizabeth yesterday, I was almost hyperventilating and I don't know why. We did the women's spiritual gathering and I was anxious, and I was able to really say, I am anxious and I don't know why. Knowing ourselves can be, it's a rough and beautiful and joyous road, and we have family to help us. We all go through the same thing. We're not alone. So one of the pieces that that helps us is to recognize our interdependency, meaning I depend upon you. You can depend upon me. I depend upon the sun coming up, the sun rises, the awesomeness of us. So it's just beginning to kind of, step into that thought process of like, why did I feel anxious? And hearing that answer. And knowing that I can do some breathing exercises. Or I can call up my friend. So the transformation is us. Being able to say, God, I got this heavy coat on me. I want to be able to take it off. It's knowing ourselves. It's knowing ourselves. And then we heard it through the scripture. We have seen it through the secret. We heard Scott. We hear you. We act. We act. We act upon what that heart is telling us. We act upon those narratives that are running in here and saying, do I really want to think this all the time? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's the self-knowledge and taking it easy. Be good to yourself. Be kind to yourself. We all saw, what's the movie where they're the maids and they take care of the children? Octavia Butler is in it.
Yeah.
Viola Davis is in it. Not the maid, I can't remember. The help,
Help,
yes, the
yeah.
help. You was kind. You was smart. Mm-hmm. You was important. Mm-hmm. That is our message to ourselves. And the exterior, at this time, it's kind of like, I need to push you away for right now. I need to hear this in here. And so that's the beginning of the transformation. And it starts with a capital C for many of us. It's called courage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we just got taken to church. Amen?
Okay.
Amen.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Ryan did the visualization boards, and I did it maybe 10 years ago, but I've always had then visualizing concepts that I would send out into the universe. And so we were moving, and it was in Patrick's office, and there it was. And there's probably maybe 20 things on the board. And these were just magazine pictures of things that I wanted to accomplish. And we looked at it and we did all of this. And so the beauty of it was that I got to do it with Patrick, and that even made it even that more special. But that visualizing is a huge piece to it. So I'm just going to go back to that material stuff that they talk about. My greatest takeaway about when they were doing the car and the house and things of that sort is that it's taking our thoughts, and sometimes we see it come forth, but I believe it is the key point that they were trying to drive through is that you have to feel it in the visualization piece like it's already here. That's what creates it out into the universe. And so I'm going to have Ryan right now talk a little bit about visualization. You did the visualization last month, and one of the important parts of that is surrounding yourself around your home, putting a board together like magazine articles or magazine pictures, things like that, so that you're constantly setting these vibrations, if you will, and they connect to you because this is something you've created, and then putting it out into the universe. How does that impact you through the secret?
It makes me think about, gosh, 15 years ago or so. I was having a conversation with a friend about where I wanted to be with my new career, because I had just switched careers, and we had a conversation about what I wanted this to turn into. And we had originally talked about it when I started the new career, when I started the education for it and started the new career. And she had the vision to write down what I said. And 10 years after I had totally switched careers and I was full force into this new career, she pulled out what she'd written down. And unknowingly, I had set a vision. I had set a vision board out there into the universe. And I had accomplished everything that I told her when I very first started thinking about switching careers.
Well, that at that moment, you had to almost be speechless, but full of this incredible appreciation, and then a whole new trust.
Yeah.
A whole new trust.
Yeah. And it took that time frame. It was about 10 years, and she had the vision to put it on her calendar as a reminder that we talked about it 10 years down the road. And we did. And that was really one of my first experiences of setting intention and having vision and putting it out there into the world. And when we pour energy into that, then it manifests and it becomes. And sometimes once we get there, we don't always, we may realize that maybe isn't quite right. And then we can adjust and move through that. But that was probably my first experience with that.
Yeah, so you said something really interesting there, and I think that's very important that we can adjust, because specifics is one of the most important parts, but understanding we can change.
Yeah.
Because the things around us kind of help us to create and make that change. And so that adjusting is very important on our day-to-day, whether it be meditation or prayer, but always having that comfort that, oh, just because I said it here doesn't mean that I can't not change it at any time. Because as people, we grow, we mature, we have different ways that we start to think, and that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So that part, when you were able to kind of connect there, it changed your life.
Yeah.
So share with us, I mean, and how many different parts, I mean, in life, it's like your thoughts, just understanding those thoughts, how they go out, because you created that visual
Yeah.
10 years prior.
Yeah. As I've, in that time and the time since then, I've really adjusted, grown, changed my philosophy of how I approach life and work and relationships and everything. And really, I try to put a lot of focus on putting out into the world what I hope to experience and to see. And one of my core foundation beliefs and pieces is that people are doing the best that they can right now with the skills that they have right now. That also means that we can grow and we can do different and we can do better. And that's kind of how I think about it. Because, that vision, I guess it was about 2008, that vision has now led into a career that I love. And it's given this experience, this just wealth of experience and knowledge, and using not just the degree I started then, but also drawing on my initial education. And I find myself currently in this space that I can use all of the different parts of my brain. And all of that has contributed to me being a better person, and the experiences through that I have just learned so much more about being a citizen of the world, being part of the importance of community, how we all fit together. And it's just infused in me at this point that that's the approach that I take, and try to be very, very careful and intentional with my words, especially because I know how important and impactful they can be. Maybe it's 10, 15 years down the road.
The beauty of that connection is not only that you found it for your own personal, but the beauty is how you serve communities. And I've seen that passion. I've seen that passion and how you also become an advocate for those communities as well. And so the beautiful part of, like you say, is using your words very selectively because you know it's the most impactful. And you've seen the two worlds collide, and you see yourself as this vessel of what you're doing, and it helps change other people's lives, not only changing your lives.
Yeah.
And that's a very important piece. And so how do you balance all of that?
So what it makes me, one of the things that I come back to when I am, talking to Danny, when I'm talking to people who I work with, sometimes we talk about planting seeds. And when you have that moment in time, when we're interacting with people, and maybe it's the only time you ever interact with that person, we're planting seeds. And sometimes we don't know if those seeds are ever going to grow. Sometimes we don't know what they're going to grow into. And so I'm just reminded of that with our words, with that intention, planting those seeds. And sometimes we're there and we can water them, and then we can see them start growing, and we can help nurture them and grow them. But then sometimes it's just once, and it's that opportunity to connect and plant the seed. And we don't know. But if we're setting that good intention, if there's the good energy and the love that goes into that initial seed.
It's that one moment in
Yeah.
time that we never really know, but it is a cultivating, creating piece of others. It also rebounds back to us as individuals, and it is just, there's an inner peace in that.
Yeah.
Because you kind of let go.
Right.
You trust.
Right.
And that's a very important piece to the secret.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing about the visualization and sharing the connection and how you use it daily with the community, yourself, your family. And it's very appreciative, it's very inspiring, and I thank you very much for being here today on Community Chat.
Thanks.
Some key words there, Patrick, that connection of service, but that connection of being specific.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
specific is a huge piece to it.
Yeah, I'll have people come to me and say, well, I want a new job, or I'd like to find a girlfriend, or I'd like to find a boyfriend. Well, you better be specific about that, because a lot of times our pickers are broken. What are you looking for? What kind of a job do you want? How much money do you want to make? Do you want to work at home? Do you want to go in there, do work? Do you want to travel for your work? What kind of area do you want to work in? When you're looking for a girlfriend, are you just looking for a body? Just a body? Or are you looking for somebody who has a job, somebody who has a car, somebody who has a vision in life, somebody has, children or doesn't have children? Get specific about it and then put it out there in front of you. Andy and I have a picture of London, and we have a statue of the Eiffel Tower, because we're going to go back. And so it's an intention that is in front of us at all times. So when you have your intention in front of you, you're also working toward that. you're also saying, how do we save the money? How do we manifest this? How do we look for the right kind of tickets? How do we find, a place to stay that's reasonable in our budget? How do we do these things? So the intention in front of you then brings action about on your part. But if we're not specific, we just say, well, I'd like to travel. Well, you might get to go to Yuma for a week.
I think one of the, I'll share a quick story. One of the things that, when I was kind of going through some difficult times, I went back to some core things in my childhood. And one of the things that I used to do is take guitar lessons and tennis lessons. And so at a certain point, the guitar was taken away, and I was obviously given tennis lessons, and that was really successful. It was amazing. But I always had this hole in my heart for music. I love music. And so one of the things that I was doing as I was kind of coming out of some of my dark times is I put out into the universe, I want a guitar. And I just simply said, I want a guitar. And so as I was walking the streets one day, I looked down and there it was. And I picked it up, and it was the most beautiful red guitar magnet for the refrigerator. So you got to be specific. Got to be specific. And it actually came to pass that I had a good friend that passed from HIV, and his boyfriend showed up at my door, and he had this beautiful guitar. It's the one that I've played here. And so to me, it sits in my home. I don't always get to play, but it fulfills something that's so special to me in the visualization. And there's a love that is so special to me. And so, but the key thing is be specific. Be specific.
Exactly.
Also, Kim, there's truths. The truths in our lives, because we cannot have that separation of going. And I think one of the things is many of us had those difficult times coming out in our lives and trying to figure that out, and we know that what that feeling was like, but it's picking up those vibrations no matter what. And so it's really coming to the truths of ourselves as well.
Very much, exactly. I think we've done Micah 6 here many, many, many times. Who we are is love. Who we are. We have the tools, my dears. We have this innate, we are born with these truths, these principles of kindness, compassion, growing. So it's kind of like what Ryan had said a little bit about, like looking at developing ourselves, wanting to be something. And if we know that we are already made of these different truths or pieces that are truly God in us. If we're in the Creator's image, then we are the Creator ourselves with that co-creation with everybody and everything. So the principles are the resources, are our pillows at night, are the pieces that help us grow. And those principles, the part of the secret, the first part is the act with those principles, act on those principles, and nourish ourselves with those principles every single day. And that is a way to be able to make our choices and live our choices that enhance and encourage and keep our lives strong and being able to help other people as well.
And Patrick, on that, focus is very crucial. So talk, what can we do to better our focus so that we can get that specific, get to the truth, and to put those vibrations out there? Because it's happening here, but sometimes there can be this disconnect, or there can be this not coming together. And so how do we do that to get to the intersections together so that we're putting it out into the universe?
Well, I think we have to stay connected to that which is growing. And I think that we sometimes connect to that which is dying. And I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about ideas. I'm talking about our own personal growth, searching out new ways of understanding things or new ways of moving forward. And I think that's what continues to keep the focus on how are we going forward? How are we moving ahead? Keeping our minds there, keeping our thinking there. Because we get very lax. We either want somebody else to do it for us, or we just are tired of doing it ourselves. And I think that staying in that, whether it's being in a place where you're learning or you're reading, you're seeing things on movies or stuff that are really spurring you forward, is the only way that we can do it. Some of us think we've got it all together and sit down and fall asleep. And I don't think it ever stops till you actually die. I think you have this growth process and focusing all the time. So it's not a weary thing, it's just an awareness thing. I want a little bit of that. Oh yeah, I'm going to take some of that. And all of this adds to that focus and that moving forward and growing, becoming. It is a lot of gratitude. Yeah.
And then I'm coming over there.
Okay. Well, one of the things I see on it, first off, is when, obviously, to make it attractive is if we love in our society cars, everything like that. So I thought that was a good approach. But I think one of the points that they were putting across is that this is the way it works. You think this, you get this. You think that, you get that. So if you look at your life and it's not the way you want it, then maybe you need to examine what your thinking is and start looking on when this happens, what is my reaction, different things that way.
Right. And
then I think the idea of the vision and the vision board is that it keeps you a focus and like that. And I always, the law of attraction, I think what they call the law of cause and effect are kind of parallel to each other. But, and there's certain people that say, you have the cause here and then the effect here. So the idea of wanting the car is the cause and all of that. The effect is when it manifests and like that. But the thing is the cause is you always have to go within to get the cause. And so that's, as you know, one of my favorite phrases is, if you don't go within, you'll go without. And so that's kind of some of my thinking on it. And then, I probably talked myself.
No, it's a great point, darling. You always have a microphone with you.
That's what makes you happy. And the gratitude of having things is one thing, but when you're happy inside, you're happy, you're grateful.
Yeah. Yes.
Practice. It's practice. Life is our practice,
Yeah.
right? And we focus, we commit, we act, we make a mistake or we miss the mark. And what do? We practice. Put me in, coach, each time in our practice.
Yeah, it is it is that putting the vibes, if you will, good vibes, mojo, if you will, out into the universe. But it is that whole mindset. So in the mindset of change and transitioning, the key is gratitude. Key is gratitude. It is that waking up and being appreciative of everything around you, the connections, the people that are there. And one very important point, the gratitude of yourself, who you are as a person, what you give this world. Those are huge concepts, but they are so important because those are the true truths. And sometimes it's hard for us to realize the gifts we have to share to the world. And each person has amazing gifts they need to share out to the world. But sometimes what gets in the way is sometimes fears. To Patrick's point, that can stop a dream. That can stop a dream right in the tracks of what you're wanting to accomplish and what you want to do. So I'm gonna have Sean come up, Adam, and we're gonna roll a little bit with Sean. And just before that, is there anybody else got some questions? This time I'll turn on the mic. That's what was wrong. Here we go.
So I personally believe in the power of manifestation and intention and everything that's been spoken about. But I'm curious if someone can speak to individuals who live in different circumstances. For example, two parents whose son was caught in the crossfire and shot. How do you speak to them about the power of the secret? I guess in their healing after the child has passed, but talking about the power of manifestation and when a tragedy like that happens. I understand the tragedy of having personal illness, dementia, or cancer, but when certain things seem out of your control, how do you address that with the philosophy of the secret?
Patrick, talk about the tragedies and how a person can find some peace and that part. Because right at the beginning, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So sometimes it is the timing and the healing might come later.
One of the most peaceful things we can ever learn in our life is that crap happens.
Yeah.
When we've dealt with situations like this before where there's just been catastrophes in people's lives that they obviously didn't manifest themselves, but evil, other people, situations manifested, and they became kind of the fallout from that manifestation of what happened. The biggest part of that is, don't tell me what happened to you, tell me what you did with it. And so we begin to see those people and those tragedies sometimes that are able to start foundations, that are able to meet with other people who had similar situations. And it's something that's grown out of the worst thing in the world to be something very, very positive. And at the time it happens, we could never see how that could ever, any good, ever come out of that whatsoever. So I have to deal with people by saying, we don't know why this happened, and it is a tragedy, it's terrible. So a recognition of the evilness of it, of the badness of it, has to come as a very big step at the beginning. When we can say, we're with you. We'll never feel what you feel, but we're with you. That begins the healing process right there to say, where can we move from here when you're ready? So I think those things are huge in the process of these disasters that happen around us. And I think, we sometimes feel that nationally, we feel that worldwide, and we feel that from war, and we feel it from other things that are going on. I think we have to keep coming back to, what can I do here? Where can I move forward? How can I? And we get stuck. Some of us get stuck. And when we get stuck, we don't move forward. We'll always remember that person who's passed away, and we should never forget them. But the problem is we become immobilized. And so being able to help people feel the grief, feel the pain, feel all of these things they need to feel for a period of time is very, very important. But our real responsibility is to begin to help them, if they want to move forward, to go on. What are we going to do with your lives now that are left over here? This tragedy will never leave, but can we make some flowers out of the crap? Can we plant something new in something terrible?
Yeah,
It's really hard.
it's really difficult. But I believe also at certain times, the vibrations that are coming out, that person finds hope. They find the light. They find something that they can attach to. And it might not be immediately, and that might be in months or years, but things start to happen because we've been to places where we get stuck because of tragedy or what's happened around us. It's hard to deal with and cope with. Always, faith, spirit, always moves back in and fills us with hope again and gives us a guiding way of going out and trying to make change.
Down to, can we move them from focusing on death to focusing on life? It's the manifestation. Are we going to continue to manifest death out of this situation, or are we going to move to manifesting life out of the situation? So it's that, again, so the secret is about how can we visualize and move forward in the midst of tragedy. Yeah, tough.
The process of growth. When we sit, and right now we sit with things to know it. And in the process of growth, then we can start to kind of crawl. We're on the floor, we crawl. And that's when spirit is coming in. Until one time, and there's no time limit or any definition. Then we kind of learn to walk. We start to walk. And for the secret, it's that act and that belief that we live with.
So I'm going to run Reverend Sean real quick. But Adam, do you have a question real quick up there? You always have questions.
Actually, I do.
Yeah, I kind of figured. Go ahead.
So once we've manifested something, how do we either keep it or multiply it, right?
Multiply one certain thing or many things?
Many things. So like once you've achieved, like a vision board, right? I achieved things, but they were only for a moment in time.
Right.
So like, let's say physically, right? I achieved that, and then how do I grow upon that or keep? Yeah, just.
Yeah, I think that's the whole essence of growth, in that you have now new visions, new visualizations, and hopefully you've learned some things from what you have already visualized and received, and hopefully then you go from there. And I think as we grow, our manifestations are not all so narrowly focused on me anymore. I think as we grow, my manifestations become, what can I help you with? How can I assist you? How can I spur you to grow on? What example can I have that says this worked for me, this might work for you, or what did work for you, and what can I learn from you? So I think a lot of it starts really right here, and me learning how to do it, and in my own life, and my own dreams. But if I don't do this, then it forever stays about me all the time. So I think that's where you also manifest bigger things. Might not get any more money than you got with your first goal, but how are you going to use that money? And then that's the reaping and sowing, when we sow and then we reap and it moves forward. We start investing in people and other ideas and other things that are going to be bigger than we ever were. That's how we begin to move out of that. How did this guy use his big house anymore? Is it all about him? Was he able to use it for other people in other situations? I think if it starts here, it's okay, but I think it can't stay here forever. It has to go like this.
Mind blown. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Joe.
So this question is for Patrick. So when you started this church 20-something years ago, could you imagine that it became what it is now?
Actually, I had to. That's the only way it could be what it is now. When we walked into this room, it was all black. There were offices up here. There was a restroom right there where you walk through the front door. There was a big cooler back there in the foyer. When I walked in here, I knew exactly what it looked like, the stage, and that we were going to take this ceiling out up here. It was all drop ceiling up here. So I knew we'd be taking all of this out of here. I saw it immediately. Now, Reverend Charlie, most of you haven't met him, but a dear, dear soul who's passed away, stepped in the door with me. And I started saying, this is what it's going to look like, and this is how we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to do that, and this is how we're going to do the other. Later, he admitted that he thought I was absolutely crazy, that he couldn't see it. But then years later, as we were in here and we were doing it, he said that I knew what I saw. The vision was not numbers. The vision was, number one, there needed to be a place that we owned in this city for gay and lesbian people to have a safe space. It wasn't about this building particularly. It was about, it has to be this. And we can't just rent and keep moving as the rent goes up or they kick us out. We have to own it. So that was the first vision. And the second vision was that it would always be welcome to everybody, the hope and love to all, and that it would be a safe place for everybody, no matter straight, gay, bi, lesbian, whatever it was, whatever title or no title that they had. So yeah, and I want to go back to the cancer and the heart and all the things that I've had physically wrong with me. I believe the vision is what kept me pulling through all of those. The vision to say, I'm not done here yet. I've got more to do, even though the physical body is causing me some challenges. It doesn't make any difference. I have this vision. I have to keep doing this. I have to keep making it. So vision, a lot of different visions going on there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Gratitude.
Gratitude. Let's
Thank
hear
you for
from
being
Reverend
here.
Sean real quick. Reverend Sean, one of the wonderful things, probably about 6-7 years ago, even though you kind of knew about the secret, it really came to terms in your life where you were transitioning and change was happening. But it was about how you looked at things, the attitude, it was trusting more of the universe. It's the letting go. There's a whole new appreciation. So just share just a little bit how that transition happened, a little bit of why it was happening.
Yeah, no, I'd be more than happy to. That was a very transitional point in my life. And from that perspective, it was not only professional, but it was also personal. And what my struggles were up to that point was really looking at how I worked through the changes that I was struggling with, and just really coming to a higher power in the space of knowing what, where I need to put my mindset. And it's a very much a change of mindset in regards to relying on the spiritual components that are important. I also had professional, so I did go to, went to a counselor. I graduated probably 3 years ago in that space, but being able to leverage these tools that have brought my mindset on how I think about things and making decisions. The stressful components that come with life in general are the challenges that's all right here and how you think about it. And really making a step towards this higher power that can really give you the influence, along with the people that I'm with and people that I'm around, because I also had to change that too. And being able to influence this area of my life. I was transitioning with work at the time. My mom was passing away at the time. All of these intersections were happening, and I had to figure out how to put this at peace. And that was really truly done through being able to leverage that spiritual component to be able to understand how I can bring that peace. And that was through people, but it was also through God and through the Spirit itself in regards to making a little bit more balance there for my life.
It was kind of like a whole new freedom started happening, and you just kept seeing that come in waves and waves and waves. And I know that you, when you get up in the morning, you have your cup of coffee, and you know it's nice to be outside when you can and stuff. But that is your time, not only of prayer and meditation, but it's also your time when you're sending out the laws of attraction, if you will. But the specific things that are happening to you on a daily. Kind of describe that moment and why that just kind of gets you going and starts your day, and it's like a huge boost, an energy boost, if you will.
It is. Have you been there?
Yeah, I've been there.
I've described it so many times to you. So I'm grateful. Yes, I do a meditation and a reading every morning. It is part of my self-care. So self-care is an important piece. That is also back up 6 years ago what I learned. Self-care is a part of those attractions as far as making that space for yourself. But being able to take time doing the meditation, the readings and things of this sort, things that are helpful for me as I grow my own personal self, personally, professionally, spiritually, brings a smile to start my day. And this is where that energy comes from quite often, how I can think differently and show up differently. How can I pivot today in regards to knowing? Some of us know challenges we are ahead of for that day. Those things used to derail me. They don't derail me anymore because I'm able to process them in a way and change my mindset with the approach of, what are my next steps here? And if I do know there's something that's challenging me, how can I do it differently? Let's back up for a minute and look at it from a different perspective. And so this has enabled me through this space of self-care to be able to drive some really positive influence for myself mentally, to change that mindset, to bring that peace that so many people look for or want in their life. It took time. It did not happen overnight. But I will tell you, to your point of these stages that you were talking about, they have changed over time. And I've gotten more, I like to call it spiritual independence. That spiritual independence is part of the influence of this higher power of yourself and with God, and all of these pieces are put together into this great book.
If I use the word too, I think at certain times in our lives we come to this word with ourselves, the truths. And in those truths are this amazing, like, okay, this is me, this is who I am, and now I'm not trying to put anything out there. I'm being just so connected and truthful with the universe that it responds so much better. But
hands down.
We used to just be so defensive about everything. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think it's the thing that comes to mind with that, and I mean this in the best way. When you think about the influence of your personal mind and spirit, it's boundaries that you chose, or I chose, for myself, and to be truthful in myself. A recent situation just happened for work, for instance, where I was able to call out on something that was a trigger for me, let's put it that way, something that wasn't so great from 6 years ago that I challenged with. I made a decision to talk to my boss and the right people in the space that I felt like this wasn't good for me. This is not a place where, for me personally, that is in my wheelhouse, but this is how I see it, and this is the way I could look at it. And of course, she was very happy to adjust and check and adjust in that space. That's something I would never have done 6 years ago.
Right.
And this is having that empowerment, if you will, to be able to have the confidence to be able to make these changes for yourself. And again, I'm going to go back to this mindset, because that's what this is all about, changing that mindset.
Yeah, it's like that showing up, just being there. And then that beautiful freedom of peace is just very comforting.
Yeah, and there is a little mission statement that I have for myself, and it's to live in peace, to co-create and inspire with others. I say it every night when I go to bed. Did I do all of these 3 things?
Say it one more time for us.
So live in peace, to co-create and inspire with others. And that's my mission statement.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing with us and being part of Community Chat today. And it's much appreciated. You really gave this incredible perspective about the secret. Thanks.
Thank you.
So you can see transition is always a key factor. So any questions? I got the mic on. It's hot. It's ready. Anybody? Okay.
One of the things that really struck me in the movie too was the gratitude that we first, we talked about gratitude being that you're thankful for what you do have, that you wake up every morning and give that prayer up to God or to your whoever you believe is your higher power. But it's saying something that needs to be said too, that we have gratitude for what we do have. They called it, I think, an attitude of gratitude. And in my learning this, I don't even want to call it a secret anymore. I want to call it, tell everybody. Let's tell everybody about it, because it is something that it is personal, but you grow with it. You see it, it's reflected, and then you want to do it. It's just like coming to this church and feeling so loved and so accepted. And I needed that so badly, and it did turn my life around to where I started, instead of watching the news and all the terrible things that go on in the world and oh, this happens and tragedies and everything, I just started saying, let's look at some of the good. Let's try every day to at least say, thank you, Lord, for, my good health for today, that I'm awake and I'm up. But I've learned it through coming here and feeling it and seeing it modeled for me, because I didn't ever find that in any other church or community. I call this my community because it's the thing that gives me the hope and to know that I can have a better life if I even doing the visualizations with Ryan that day. I've never done anything like that. And it's learning new ways that you can process how you're thinking. And my thinking was very negative. I did not know that about myself. I never would have said I'm a negative. But then when I really started having to examine myself to say, what is it that I want out of life? What can I ask for even? Because I just didn't know. I was to the point that I felt God had abandoned me too, that not only did my wife had to leave, but even there was nothing. And when you it's a miracle. It's like the miracles, but you have to see them. You have to realize what it is. And when I came here and I felt so good every day, Sunday when I would go home, and I loved being outdoors. I loved seeing the people. Before I had shut myself down. I didn't want anybody to even talk to me. I was angry. And I think it's just so different to be able to have people like you guys, and that you would present this movie, because I didn't know about the movie, but I had started understanding that it's within you. It's not out there that you're waiting for somebody else to bring to you. It's you saying, you know, that, and that I'm happy, I'm joyful. I can have a life that I can understand tragedy. You know, even when it comes to yourself, you can spend a lifetime helping other people with their tragedies, but when it's your turn, you look and say, God, why have you abandoned me? But he never, never, never has. He's always there with you. That's the one thing, the one principle this movie tells us, is that we have a higher power, whatever we want to call that. I call it goodness because I like to see the goodness in the world now. Okay, there's bad, that's true, but look for the good too. So, you know, in any tragedy, sometimes it's not really the words that you can say at the time, it's how you make them feel, that you say, I care. And they will remember that, because I have remembered it too. In many occasions where I, you know, felt like God had abandoned me, I would have people that would come and say, God loves you. And that is the greatest gift. That's the secret to me, is that God loves me. God cares about me. And I can accomplish what I want in my life, irregardless of the tragedies that happen in the world, the sadness, the things that you look are going to happen, or, you know, but I just had to learn how to be positive. I had to learn how to say, God loves me. And what am I going to do with that now? Because that's important.
Thank you. Thank you, Martha.
It is one of the, as we're coming to a close, it is one of the factors of people coming up and saying things like that to Martha. That's the attraction that starts happening, because then it came already from this incredible peaceful heart. And so those vibrations are going out. And then it's amazing how these amazing people come back. So you're giving, and then all of a sudden you're receiving, because these people just start showing up and they're around you. And so it's huge. It's one of the big factors of the secret. But as we said, a lot of it has been around. A lot of it's in the scriptures and things. And I just want to kind of finish a little bit with a couple of things. I want to come back and circle back around, because I had very similar situation. When you said, I have more to do. I have more to do. And what those moments were, and then because then you had these incredible people surrounding you as well, and took it from there. So just share those moments, because it's like you don't know, but then there's just these thoughts going up. I want more. I want to do more.
Reverend Charlie always said, when you put it out to the universe conspires with you to make it happen. And I think that's it'll draw the people, it'll draw the finances, it'll draw the end result of the vision, it will bring all of that. So I think that's the secret. I think the secret is we are speaking it out. We are energy. We are dreaming. We are visualizing. We are doing all these things. And I think that's when the universe connects with us. and says, you can have these things. You can have this vision. You can have this joy. You can have this peace. You can have these people around you, and so on and so forth. So it is a vibration. And we're either repelling or we're compelling. And so we need to always be checking where we are and what we're doing. I think that's the secret.
And Kim?
We are fertile ground. Any seed that is planted can grow. There are seasons that happen, and so we ask, we plant, we grow, we do, we receive, we ask, we plant. We are fertile ground in a beautiful cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to ducktail off of that. In 2010, I was at a point, so 3 years prior, I was homeless in the streets of Phoenix. And so in 2010, I was going through some things, but I was pulling my life together. And I remember at a point when Reverend Patrick was talking about a few minutes ago. I remember the doctors walking in, you have to have surgery, your liver is failing, you got 20% chance of coming out of it. And I remember that feeling too. My gosh, I'm just getting things going and I want to give and I want to serve and I want to do so many things in my life. And I kind of just like, okay, then I had this beautiful acceptance and I had this beautiful peace that came over me. And it was at that point, maybe 30 minutes later, and they came in and said, you're going to be okay, we have a different idea, and we're going to try it this way. And I was going through treatments to try to get my liver better. And so they stopped the treatments. But it was that quick, that moment is when I know that I started having this beautiful visionaries out into the universe. And that receiving coming back was so live in my body. And so that's what each and every one, when you saw them going across the panel that was discussing in the movie, each person there was in very difficult times. It does come to the appreciation. It does come to the love, and it comes for that expression of joy and that putting it out into the universe and receiving, well, the gifts just go out this way because it's the love of helping and serving other people and being there for people and just having this exuberant excitement, if you will, almost childlike about things around you. And so take that as a piece, lean on it. That's what the Secret movie was trying to express. That's what Patrick and Kim and Sean and Ryan and Scott are trying to share with us. And I want to thank you for sharing and being here this morning and not only learning the secret, but learning how to live life to the fullest. That's what we want in our world. That's what we want to seek out. And that's what we want that comes back to us. Thank you, Reverend Patrick. Thank you, Reverend Kim. And a special thanks to Adam up there that put all of this together. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here, everybody.